no viewers, and I don't know. The chat doesn't seem responsive.
There's chat. There's chat.
Okay. Well, anyways, what was your question again?
Where would you like to start?
Oh, the offense came alive.
Yeah.
Like it really came alive today. I feel like you have to start with the offense today because this is something that, I mean, think about the past 2 games.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last 2 games have been atrocious.
Right.
Like even when we were winning baseball games, it wasn't really anything because of the offense was doing, but it was kind of the Josh Palacios show, wasn't it?
Yeah. He showed up with little brother there. So it was nice that Josh, I don't know, maybe he had that little extra oomph, with his brother.
Yeah, no, it was he always has like he disappears for like a week and then he'll come out of the blue and have a monster game like this one. 5 RBIs, a huge 3-run home run. He's not a good player, but tonight was special.
So like the Josh Palacio effect, it's kind of weird. I mean, because I get it in the sense that he is exciting, he's fun, he's a guy you want to root for.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, he's really not that good. No. And I feel like a lot of people feel as if he actually is good.
Yeah, I mean,
I hate to like crap on him right now too because he had an amazing game and it's like his moment today.
Yeah, I don't want to crap on him, but it's definitely like he's like one of those bad players that has kind of like a cult following. A consistently bad team like the Pirates gets a lot of those guys, and I think Palacios is just that guy this year.
For sure.
Yeah, it would certainly seem like it.
But there's also an argument that he wasn't even the best offensive performer tonight. Connor Joe.
Tell you who was. If you want to go down that route.
Connor Joe went 3 for 4 with a walk, 3 doubles. He's been a man possessed recently.
It's nice to see. It's like it's early April all over for him again. I mean, he hasn't been a terrible player by any means, I mean,
no,
he's clearly beat my expectations of the acquisition for this year. He's solid. And tonight just showed, like you said, all 3 doubles too. I mean, he was mashing the ball.
He was probably unlucky to not have at least 1 home run with how he was hitting the ball tonight.
If he's your first or second guy off the bench, you've got a good roster. But yeah, the problem is he's not the first or second guy. I mean, we've talked about this at length with him. He's at times been asked to fill a role that he's not really capable of filling or not really suited towards, which is, again, a running theme for this team.
Yeah, and I was kind of looking at the lineup tonight, and all I could think was we have a lot of guys I would be really comfortable putting in the 5 through 9 slot. You have Connor Joe, you have Rodriguez, you have a lot of guys you can fill in a back end of the. I don't even know what's so funny, but you have a lot of guys you can fill in the back end of a lineup. But there's like one guy I'd really be like, yes, put him in the top 4, and that's Brian Reynolds.
It was the complete phrasing. It reminded me of Eric when he was talking about CSN, how he'd be a great player in Korea.
Yeah,
like if we had some great guys.
It felt like a very underhanded compliment.
It wasn't even supposed to be underhanded. I just think we have like a lot of dudes who can play at the major league level. But like when you look up and down this roster, like who were like the real like impact guys, I think is what I was trying to say.
No, and you're right. Just your way of saying it was very funny.
That's funny.
Can we talk about Endy Rodriguez for a bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I noticed something today. Endy Rodriguez is a good player, but not because he has the Jack Sawinski approach. He goes up there looking to hit the ball, and the walks come. Because when you attack the ball, and you're good at attacking the ball, and you have a good eye, the walks will come naturally. He doesn't have to work a walk. Well, I mean, it's probably not the best way to put it. He doesn't have to go up there looking to get a walk.
That's not his first outcome he's looking for.
Right. And it's really shocking that just the Pirates have continued to look at this season. They've got to, in the offseason, they've got to do something about the entire organizational philosophy, because they can't just watch the entire league go, oh, okay, you're not going to swing, and just watch pitches, because not only is this approach not working, the approach that they're teaching doesn't prepare anybody how to hit at a high level. Because not only is Jack Sawinski just doesn't swing ever with 2 strikes at a borderline pitch, when he does swing at those borderline pitches in any count, he doesn't look like he's prepared to hit it.
Yeah, and I mean, you are seeing like guys like ND and Piguero, like as they adjust to the majors, they're striking out a bit. Like I think they're at 29% respectively, both of them on the year, and that's been coming down. But like, hey, they're walking more. And what's really encouraging to me is that ND does not hit the ball. Like he's not going to be like an O'Neill Cruz smacking the ball 112 miles an hour around the park, but he's currently rocking a 42% hard hit rate.
That really good.
That plays.
That plays.
And you can definitely see him getting more comfortable as he plays. And he's not looking to walk. He's not a Scott Hatteberg.
No, that he is not. To your point, I just want to point out here, so Piguero is at a 30.1% strikeout rate, and Endy's at a 27.24, which is, like you said, coming down. Like, so both your points, back to Endy. This is like the thing you're talking about. Like when you look at his overall numbers, and now it is a 108 weighted runs created plus. Like he's been about hovering around average, here and there, up and down a little bit for a while. But it's just like, again, like going into the eye test, when you see him, much like Henry Davis, if you feel like he's going to figure it out, although he's been struggling a lot lately, and he hasn't. But like when you look at him, he's got a great approach. Like this guy is a dude, and he's showing it more now too. And granted, the pitching wasn't as talented today, so he did get 3 hits. I mean, granted, Capper walks in off the streets and gets a hit today, so
yeah,
you can tell that they're not as hard to come by tonight. However, again, 3 hits. Big hits. Like he looks very comfortable now. He looks like a dude. I'm very excited about Endy Rodriguez.
I think after just watching like Dallas Keuchel carve us up for 6 innings, I'm just going to take whatever we can get, even if it's off a Drew Rom, who's probably never going to see the major leagues after a day like this. Again, he's probably never coming back up. But no, you're right. It was not great pitching by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know. It's not even like stats. I just see the way that Piguero and Endy play baseball, and I'm like, they have the it factor. They look different than a Nick Gonzalez, if that makes any sense.
It does.
That does. And that's kind of to so Mark asked this question, even like look at this roster, then check out Nick Gonzalez in AAA and ask yourself, why isn't he in Pittsburgh? And I get both sides of that. No, I do, because the roster isn't that talented on the Pirates, right? But in the same sense, there's a lot of opportunities that Nick Gonzalez has, and I can understand. Like I would rather have Triolo on the major league roster right now than Nick Gonzalez. If that
I
makes
would
any
too.
sense.
Because the thing is, Nick Gonzalez had his extended opportunity, and he failed.
He did.
I mean, he's going to get another opportunity. I think for the real problem is that Nick is second baseman. And right now you have 3 second basemen on the roster. Like who obviously you'd probably rather have him up here than Vinny Carpa. But like if we're talking Triolo, Bay, I don't want Bay on the roster for personal reasons, but like just from like a pure talent standpoint, who was Nick Gonzalez displacing on the roster who plays second base?
Yep, right. No, that's fair. And it's certainly Piguero at this point in time.
Yeah.
And even though like he is performing right now in AAA's second, time down there now, he's still striking out. That was the worrisome before. This is what he was doing before the call up. I'm not sure if we've really seen like a change. Hey, he saw the majors. He saw some success. He saw his failures. Now he gets to work on those and hopefully be a new person next time around. I'm not pining for Nick Gonzalez to come up right away because of this roster. But anyways, back to the post game.
Yeah.
Piguero, I don't know if I can say like the it factor with him yet, but he has me excited. This is the first time probably since Castro of last year where I feel excited about a second baseman, and we've seen quite a few middle infielders on this team. So he has, I'll say he has that factor for me. I don't know the it factor, but he certainly has the excitement factor for me.
Okay. All right. Does he have you intrigued?
I'm intrigued. There you go, Doug. Where are you at? I'm intrigued, Doug.
Yeah, no, I am, and like, there's a lot of work, but like, I think he's walked like more times in the past week than he did like in the first like 20 games he did in the major leagues, and so I think there are improvements to be shown, and I think he just plays a really slick glove at second base. Like, I have never been worried about Peguero fielding baseballs, and I think last year, like, I couldn't say the same thing. Like last year in Double-A, like he had the yips, and they were bad yips. So good for him.
Yeah, no, for real. We worried about the defense. I thought the defense was going to look like he was going to come up here and be okay enough with the bat, but the defense was going to be another middle infielder comes up and has this very, very bad defense. And you're right. Like I'm not going to say impressive, but it certainly held its own. And I'm impressed of how good it is compared to how awful I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Tonight, actually, like another good play if someone was covering second base. He almost could have had a double play, but ended up getting the out at first.
Mm-hmm. No, and I'm not a huge Alika Williams fan, but like they work together well in the middle infield.
They do. Alika put together some. The results haven't been there with Alika, but he's put together some like competent looking at bats against competent pitching. I mean, he's not going out there and completely embarrassing himself on the eye test.
Yeah, I mean he strikes out a little too much for my liking. Like, and unlike like a Peguero type guy who does strike out, he doesn't really have the pop to make up for it. But no, I see what you mean. At the very least, he seems to be able to get RBIs. Like he has some situational awareness about like when it's time to like lock and load and get a hit.
Well, it's because the Pirates didn't develop him.
True, but I mean, he was hitting like garbage for the Rays, so he came to the Pirates and got better.
Well, they taught him situational awareness. We taught him how to hit.
All right, fair enough.
Sure.
I'm sensing some doubt from DiNardo.
Yeah, I'm not willing to fight it, but
yeah,
I guess the natural progression is to Reynolds and Hayes. I feel like we can talk about them together. How are we feeling about Cabrian Hayes?
Oh, so much better. Because during that little stretch back in, was it late May or was it late June to early July?
Something like that.
May 31st to June 8th, I feel like it was.
Yeah, so during that stretch, he hit like 500. He had an OPS of like 1,300 for like 2 weeks. This stretch stands out for me from that stretch because he's consistently hitting the ball in the air now. He's consistently pulling it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not consistently, but he's pulling the ball more than he has.
There was more of like the weak pop-up stuff tonight, but like I'd agree with the overall trend. Like that double was smoked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what you need more of. And like, even though it was only one hit, he went 1 for 5. Like hitting the ball hard in the air is such a big development for him. And I don't know if he's gotten to like a league average WRC plus, but I feel like he has to be climbing up there.
I think he was at 89 coming into tonight. I checked.
He's still at 89. Yep.
Even after tonight?
Yep.
It's close.
That's the thing.
Well, that's 89 WRC is like realistically for him to be like a more than 2.5 WAR player. with his current defense. 89 WRC is pretty much all he has to do.
Yeah. Like we've kind of talked and discussed that, like you want more from Cabrian. You sense you can have it. We're just not sure why you can't really tap into it to give you better results.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, like I'll take a 90 weighted, I'll take about 10% below league average because that's still a 3-WAR player, right? You really want to see him be about league average hitter. And if he can, I think he can, the skill set's there, just having more of that consistency and such.
Mm-hmm.
If he can be a league average hitter at third base with that defense, you're looking like a 4-WAR type of player. That's really good. 3-WAR is acceptable for sure.
Yeah, that is true. But I'm going to push back a little because the last 2 years, I think we can agree that the last 2 years of Cabrian have been a little underwhelming, right?
Right.
Yeah.
2021, 87, 2022, 88. And now he's sitting at 89. He is just sitting at what he has been for the past 3 years at this point. And so at this point, since he's 26 years old, I feel like he needs to take at least that next step forward. I don't think if the Pirates want to go where they want to go, and the lineup is already looking as shaky as it is, you can afford to have Cabrian Hayes bat like this. And it's not his fault because he's making pennies. Like that contract is nothing. But because we're the Pirates, he has to hit better than what he is. And he's on the track to doing that. So I don't want to take anything away from him. But if he starts falling off again, he's going to be batting worse than he has. This is going to be his worst batting season in his entire career, which is crazy to think about.
And 2 weeks ago, it was by a long ways.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
At one point this season, I think it was May, it was down to 56.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the exact number. He was the third worst qualified hitter in baseball at one point this year.
And there was another hitter on the Pirates named Austin Hedges, by the way. But past
was he qualified at that point?
Probably not.
No, Hedges never. Hedges missed all of April, and he's a catcher. He was never qualified.
Yeah.
I wonder what happens to the Pirates in April. But
anyway.
All right, let's move on to the pitching. And I have no idea what to make of the pitching tonight. On paper, it was great. 9 innings. Thomas Hatch comes in to start. Thomas Hatch has been surprisingly good.
Hasn't he, though?
Yeah.
I say that truthfully.
Yeah. No, I am not being sarcastic. When I saw Thomas Hatch, I'm like, okay, this is a guy, I guess. And then he's basically come in and thrown 3 innings every time out and has looked really good doing it.
We were talking about this the other day where they've done a surprisingly decent job avoiding the true bottom of the barrel waiver claims, the Del Pozos and the Eichhoffs of the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're really there hasn't been anybody that's been brought in externally that would be the Jared Eichhoff of the year, right?
Right. That's the thing, there's Hatch, there's Andre Jackson, there's been Barucki this point, for as much heat as I know myself, I'm not going to speak for you two, but I think you two as well have given the pitching, the coaching and everything, with these players, there's intrigue there. When Barucki came over and then they called him up,
mm-hmm.
It's not a serious team, right? When Andre Jackson, was brought in, not a serious team. Hatch is added, not a serious team. Those are thoughts that go through your head because, when you look at these players, look what they've done, the organizations they come from, and they given up on them. It's just we've seen this before, right? To kind of your point, the Jared Eichhoffs, all the other castaways that came in and were just awful. But I'm not ready to pin that on these guys. I mean, Barucki's shown enough at this point. I'm not, but with Andre Jackson, there's been some intrigue. And with Hatch, I'm not saying intrigue to the degree of the other two, but he's held his own where I didn't think he would either. And tonight, it wasn't sexy. 2 swing and miss.
Yeah.
But this is a really, really good Cardinals offense, especially right now. And he did his damn job.
Yeah, and I think what's nice about it is like they basically told him to stop throwing his fastball because he has a Quinn Priester fastball, and he's just been spamming a cutter changeup mix, which isn't like a really great strikeout combination, but what it has been pretty good at is just like limiting that hard contact.
Right.
Now he's still getting hard hit quite a bit, but like considering last year he was getting hit hard 70% of the time, and now that's down to 38. You know, you can say that's a pretty sizable improvement. And it does make you wonder how long he can really keep this up, because I don't know how long this 3 innings of Andre Jackson and this 3 innings of Thomas Hatch can really go on for.
Yeah, they have to bring in another real starter, because at this point, with Oviedo's innings being managed, there is like really, you know, you have Mitch Keller and Bailey Falter as like the only guys that reasonably you can kind of hope to go 6 innings at this point. That's you can't do that for 2 months of a season. That's just not sustainable.
I don't know if I'd even call Bailey Falter a reliable 6-inning guy.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that like him and Keller are like the only 2 guys that you can even remotely hope to get 6 out of right now.
Yeah,
with
that's
Oviedo
fair.
being managed.
Right.
No, that's
and
fair.
Just kind of you're talking. You brought up April. That's the complete opposite of what made this team really strong early on in the year too. We talked how the starters are giving innings. Like the starters were helping the bullpen so much because they were going 6, 7, where you just had to go to Holderman and Bednar. And I feel like it's now reversed again, that the bullpen has to stay strong. They have to eat the innings because the starters can't do so once again. So you're right. You know, and that was the challenge of this deadline, especially if you give up a Rich Hill, which again, like I'm okay with the trade. But if you were worried about the trade last year, the Quintana, because how you're going to finish the year, it was going to be even more of a issue this year. And again, like we are seeing it now, but again, like that's what we're talking, like Connor brings up. These guys that they have run to fill, there is some intrigue. Now they are going 3 and 3 innings, right? Like you say, like how long can that last? But they've been holding their own. And I've been pleasantly surprised with this. So like, I'm not ready to register like Hatch is part of the future and he's good. Andre Jackson is good. You know, I'm going to get scolded, especially in our Discord, but I'm not ready to say Barucki's good, but I'm certainly intrigued. And I have some faith in Barucki.
I agree. I'm not sure. I wouldn't give him the good title yet either.
Like, we're not crowning him as King Barucki yet, are we?
Not yet. But I think he's deserved every reason to be part of the bullpen next year. You know, Jackson
100%.
and Hatch, like they haven't earned anything yet, but I'm certainly watching.
But Barucki's a competent left-hander, and Garcia still can't grip a baseball, so he's on the roster next year no matter what. But I do like, and I don't know how to phrase this because I don't want to do cliches, but I like, because I'm not sure how I feel about Falter as like a guy you just give the ball to every 5 days. But I do like him being used as someone in tandem with the Thomas Hatch or with an Andre Jackson. And obviously, I think he got helped out by the game being so out of reach by the time he came in that, like, it didn't really matter how, like, the Cardinals had kind of given up. But I like piggybacking him with the guy like Hatch. I think it works well.
I do as well.
I also just have no idea how good Bailey Falter truly is.
I don't think he is. So there's that.
I thought you were going to end it at I don't think. And
can we clip that? Just like, I don't
agree. I was going to agree with you.
That's going to be my version of Jim's text saying I'm an idiot. Just
yes.
I don't think.
No, Falter's
there's not
weird.
much intrigue with Falter. And like I feel like maybe part of it, like what you said, you know, like tonight he said I'm down, but it was over with. It was over. Game's over.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, it is a nice build up, like building off of the Mets start. I think that was pretty good. You know,
start.
He went 6 innings. That's good enough for me, man. Like, you know, obviously you don't want to give up home runs to the Cardinals' backup catcher. But I mean, the set was it 8 strikeouts in 6 innings. I did not think he had that in him.
No, and that's fair because I don't at all.
He's like, I guess, is Angel Perdomo like a good comp where like it's you don't really understand how he gets out, but he does.
I don't know. I'm sorry, but like Perdomo's talented.
Oh, jeez.
You know, like I want Perdomo. I want to try to work with Perdomo. With Falter, it's just like, this is it. Like you're maxed out. This is the best we're gonna get out of you. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel.
I think I just like they're both lefties who don't throw very hard and like have massive extension. I think those like the only. I'll take your word that Perdomo can throw 98.
Well, no, he did. He did.
Did he?
It's just only when he's intentionally hitting batters.
Oh, right.
Right.
How could I forget? But like, I understand why they liked a guy like Bailey Falter. Again, I have no idea what to make of him, though. I wish I had something better, but I don't.
Because
I don't know.
I talked with Nathan Webb, who's a pitcher in AAA earlier today, and basically when they bring guys into the organization, they go, okay, what are you good at? What do you want to work on? So they identify metrics with these guys that they like. With Falter, it's the extension. With Hatch, it's also the extension. And then they go, okay, what are you good at? And they work with these players to, getting better at the things that they want to work at, and then adding on top of that. That's how the pitching development was for Webb. So maybe they just found something with Falter, and they've certainly found something with Perdomo and those guys, because they're performing better than advertised.
Yeah. Well, I think I would agree with the narrative to the fact that, like, even at, like, if Bailey Falter's, like, 99th percentile, I don't see him more than, like, a 4th or a 5th starter.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is, like, the absolute max that you could hope for in him. But the problem is, like, if that's the max, that his floor is DFA guy next year.
We have a lot of guys whose ceiling is 4th or 5th starter.
We have a lot of 5 through 9 hitters and 4 and 5 stars.
That's our rallying cry, huh?
We figured out the back end of the roster. Now we just need to figure out
Progress, though, right? It's progress.
Yeah. No, I mean, you don't look around the roster like you did last year and think, 95% of you guys should be in AAA.
Right.
And 80% of you shouldn't have jobs at all.
Yeah. Like, there's no Kai Toms out there.
Right. And it did. There was, I think we're far enough removed from it now that we kind of forget just how massive the roster turnover was. Like, I think something like 48 of the 69 players used last year aren't in the organization anymore. And that was at the start of the year. That number's only gone up.
That's crazy.
So it's probably more like 50, 52 or 54 now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And that's not to go too deep in this rabbit hole, but that's part of the frustration of, like, why when you look at this team where they're at this year, like, I understand, well, I don't know if the number is right now per se, but it was like 7 games better than last year. But, like, this is a much better roster. Like, they know? And then when they start out with the record that they had, they certainly should be. So that's why when you look at, like, yeah, it's progress this year, but are you really contributing this team that much better? Like, should they really be here, or should they be better based on circumstances? But at any rate,
how you get there matters a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and I guess,
again, like, not to harp too much on this, but, like, even with Falter, I'm kind of, like, back on that, giving them the benefit of the doubt like you've seen them bring guys into this organization and work with them, and they've been somewhat successful. So like I was down on the Falter trade. Well, certainly was because of my boy Castro being involved in it. Again, talent, and I don't know about talent. But regardless, like you see these guys come in, Brucky, Hatch, Jackson, like I don't know if they're recognizing or seeing something that fits what they're trying to do or mold or whatnot. But so far, it has worked. So it's like that's why I'm going to back off a little bit. And I don't really believe in Falter, but let's see if they're cooking anything.
When these bullpen days work, they kind of really work, right? We saw that tonight. When it's executed and it goes well, it's great. But just when it doesn't go well, it's a compounding issue because now your pen is overworked and your starters aren't going deep enough in a game. You don't really have starters. It really concerns me that they're not concerned enough with the immediate future, as little as it means. And I'm on the side of, winning games now kind of does matter, but I think my thoughts on that certainly aren't aligned with the front office. But you've got to at least get through the games. And I'm really worried that they just don't have enough on hand right now to get through the games. Not on the major league roster.
They don't, but there's also just a part of me just like would not terribly be upset if like you roll into next year thinking your fifth starter is like piggybacking a guy with a Hatch or a Jackson, where that's your plan every 5 days. It doesn't have to be Falter. It could be an Ortiz. It could be a JT Brubaker. I don't hate the idea of doing that.
Yeah, neither do I.
That's an interesting point. Probably definitely like an off-season topic to talk about because you never have a problem with too much pitching. You always want, but there is part of this, and it is like how you said, it's a lot of 3, 4, and 5 starters, mainly 4 and 5 starters. But there's like, especially with injury, when Burrows comes back, JT comes back, right? There's a lot of guys coming up in the minor leagues and such. The guys that are already here, like there's going to be a plethora of air quotes starters. So I wonder if that's something they maybe do look into doing. Is well, we have 6, 7 of them. Let's maybe. So it's almost to the degree of like what they're using Romansy and Crow. Like last year, like what if they did something where they had like one guy go like 3 innings? We've seen that work, and if there's a guy who's good enough to do it all year long, right? I mean, I think we have our Crow was good then, but he's not these guys probably. Like I feel like I would rather have Andre Jackson than Crow on the team, just seeing the 2 guys pitch and such. It's like if Andre Jackson can be that guy, you saw the value in that, and that really helps out a bullpen also.
Yeah, I mean, like, today was huge because they use 2 pitchers. Tomorrow's bullpen is going to be super fresh, especially since we don't have a whole lot of off days. Like it was pretty big. I mean, I guess I think you gotta trade some of these guys though.
It's becoming the same situation.
I don't want to turn this into like roster construction post-game show. I don't want to do that, but like looking toward next year, it's like you can't roster all of these guys if that makes any sense. Like someone's got to go, and so I don't know how you do that, but I would like to see like maybe because I know Vince Velasquez said he would like to come back. If you want to use him as like a Thomas Hatch or an Andre Jackson type deal, I think that would work pretty well too. Just have these bullpen guys that can slot in for an inning if you need to, but also can piggyback starters like a Brubaker or a Falter who aren't really good enough to do it on their own, but can work together well in a tandem, if that makes any sense.
It does.
It's kind of becoming the same thing with like, it's a similar situation to the middle infielder situation where and now Alika is in the mix too. So we were saying that somebody needed to be traded before Alika got here. Now with Alika here, that's log jammed. You've got a pitching log jam next year because you go down the list and it's Keller, Oviedo, Skeens, Rowanzi and Ortiz are going to get second chances at some point. Solometo, Jones, there's too many names and not enough spots.
Right. And plus, like you mentioned, Falter, and now the name's escaping me, but the trade with San Diego, that pitcher's now in Double A right now.
Jackson Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf. Like there's
he's
again,
not
and
real. He's not
don't-
real.
No, he's not, but he has made a major league spot start this year.
right, and that's what I'm getting at. Like again, the quality isn't really there, but there's a lot of people.
Yes.
And there's an argument to be made that like I'm of the opinion, that they kind of need more legitimate starting pitchers. They can't just go with like 3 bullpen days a week. So, and with so many names coming up in the future, now might be the time to just get a look at Jackson Wolf. I know he's made a spot start. Just you need innings.
I wouldn't be shocked if he does. Again, we're
No,
talking
I
about
wouldn't either.
needing innings, right? Like I feel like there's going to be a couple guys that come up.
We're supposed to be a competing team next year, and we're having these discussions. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we got a little sadder, but I think we covered everything about the game almost. Anything else you guys want to touch on?
Oh,
not really.
the people saying that we need to lose this series because we can't get a top pick next year. You're deranged.
There are people saying that?
There are.
Well, my timeline is curated to avoid those people, so I don't have to worry about it.
I just took a deep breath.
Yeah, I know
Time to go on
DiNardo.
that.
I know DiNardo. I know DiNardo knows who.
Well-
it could be a number of people, but
Yeah,
I guess
number of
just to
people.
say that, and for anyone, this like the point isn't to lose. Like it could be advantageous to have another pick. I get that, right? If you have the opportunity to get number 1 overall, but just because you're in the bottom 6 doesn't mean you're going to get it. And with that said, too, like it's time to move forward. Like Connor said here earlier, like winning does matter right now. Like let's
Yeah.
start building that culture, because these guys that are here are going to be part. Most of them are going to be part of that next one. Let's get some winning. Let's get some jiving. Let's get some good vibes going. Let's build into next year. Let's build let's start building instead of continuing to tear.
I would rather Endy go 3 for 4 with a homer than go 0 for 4 with a throwing error that costs us the game. If Endy has to go 0 for 4 with a throwing error that costs us the game for us to get a top 5 pick, then I don't want a top 5 pick. I'm sorry.
That's a very good point. Like, would you rather your rookies right now play like the Reds or play like what the Pirates rookies are currently playing?
Right.
I would much rather them all have 130 weighted runs created plus and 109, and like all the rookies playing well, which will lead to wins. Unfortunately, the team's going to win. But like, okay, so your future is performing. I would much rather the future perform right now than not perform because someone get another pick. Because then you go next year like, well, are any of these guys good?
Yeah, you leave with more question marks than answers you have by having like a draft pick that's 5 spots higher. It's not worth it.
Right.
I'm going to put a hot take in here. I like it better when my team wins baseball games.
Wow.
That's all that needs to be said.
You're so bold.
But the farm rankings. We got to go.
Sorry.
Future value.
I forgot. Good teams win championships. Great teams get the best MLB pipeline prospect farm. Well, the Pirates are 5-2. 6-2. 5 or 2 or one of the two are 5 or 2 or 6-2 against the St. Louis Cardinals this year.
I feel like it's 6-2.
I feel like 6-2 is right. Almost makes up for how bad we are against the Brewers and the Cubs. Tomorrow, Adam Wainwright versus Johan Oviedo, 7:05. We should win this game.
I'm really disappointed Cruz got injured because the second that I heard that Adam Wainwright was coming back for one more year, my mind immediately went to Cruz hitting like a 500-foot homer off an 87-mile-an-hour fastball. And I'm sad that we've been robbed of that.
It's okay. Tomorrow, Oviedo revenge game.
Tomorrow, Josh Palacios hits.
Well, he already had
nuke.
his revenge game, didn't he? He had his first like, okay, you're a guy. Start this year came against that Cardinals series that we split in St. Louis in April.
Yeah. Yep.
That was the Oviedo revenge game.
Well, there's going to be another one.
Yeah.
He's going to just stick it down. He's gonna...
Yep. Oviedo revenge game. He's going to be back. Derek Shelton's fighting soldiers will take the field tomorrow, 7:05.
Let's do it.
Another masterclass from Derek Shelton tonight. But besides that,
my
All
manager.
Right. I got my intrigue out. You got your
Yes.
Derek out. Let's end this show now.
Yeah, I think we're going to sign off here. Here's Jim, the shill for the show. Have a good rest of the night, everyone.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.